Okay, let's take a look at these wordy sentences and practice the skills that we just learned about avoiding eliminating wordiness. So I'm going to go in here and set up my computer to do some highlighting so that we'll draw some attention to problem areas. And what I like about avoiding wordiness is that if you read the sentences aloud, you can really pick up on them. So, in the 19th century, there were great technological developments that were beginning to develop, and early science fiction was in large part a response to these changes. Oof, I heard that, right? We talked about not doing that. That we're beginning, right? And then I heard a nominalization in there. There was one. Let me switch colors here. There was some repetition. Did y'all hear some repetition? Developments. Develop, right? Then if we think about it, this is some deadwood right in here. Right? Dead. In other words, by deadwood, that's really not doing anything. So, with that in mind, what could we do here to clean up this sentence? In the 19th century, there were great technological developments that were beginning to develop, and early science fiction was in large part a response to these changes. How could we fix this? In the 19th century, great technological developments, that's better. Now let's go like this. Great technologies were beginning to develop. That's better, but we don't need two words to express the same idea. So let's go like this. Great technologies were developing, and early science fiction, now let's fix the second part, was in large part a response to these changes. And early science fiction, sorry about that, and early science fiction responded to these changes. How did I fix the tail end of the sentence? I cut the deadwood and I took that nominalization, that zombie noun, I took it out. Remember to be careful about nominalizations, those zombie nouns. It's a much better sentence. In the 19th century, great technologies were developing, and early science fiction responded to these changes. The next one. There are, remember, don't do that. Don't begin a sentence like that. There are many people who are of the belief, nominalization, zombie, that Mary Shelley's book Frankenstein, a novel published in 1818, is the first science fiction novel. I heard some repetition, right? We have book. Now, if you'll notice, Frankenstein is underlined to let the reader know what? That it's a book, so we don't need to do this. Then we say novel, and then we say novel again. We don't need all of this going on. Don't need it. So, what can we do here? Many people. What do many people do? Let's take this nominalization. Guess what we're going to do with it, guys? Many people believe Mary Shelley's. Now, do we need all of these different references that the fact that Frankenstein is a book? N-O. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, published in 1818, is the first science fiction novel. Much better, much better. The 19th century also saw the first beginnings of what was to become a major science fiction publishing market, magazines. This sentence is a little bit better, not quite so wordy, but we have some repetition going on in here. You see that? The 19th century also saw the beginnings of, we just don't need all this dead wood in here, of a major science fiction publishing market, magazines. Then the fourth sentence, due to the fact that science fiction includes many different and various types of literature, it is difficult to define. Right? You probably heard this one. Right? Don't need that. Then we have some repetition, different and various. Those mean the same thing. We don't need to have two different words to express the same idea. So we need to get in here and clean this one up. What do we substitute here? Because science fiction includes, and this would be, the choice here is tomato, tomato, potato, potato. You get to have your pick here. I'm going to say includes various types of literature it is difficult to define. Wow. Now if we take a look at these sentences, look at all the words that we've saved, and not only that, look at how alive and vibrant our writing is. So when we go in and we eliminate wordiness, it's not just to save words, but it's to make our writing more vibrant, vivid, and alive. And that's what we want. So be sure when you go in and work with your writing that you're incorporating, you're reflecting all of these lessons that we're learning here about avoiding wordiness.